Hola, buen día. This is our last page of notes for Unidad 1, Lección 2, and today we're going to talk about indirect object pronouns. So in the past we talked about direct object pronouns, and now we're going to talk about indirect object pronouns. So what is an indirect object pronoun? They are an indirect object, not the pronoun, but an indirect object is it indicates the recipient, person or animal or thing, of an action. So in other words, like if you're going to say like, ¿Qué le vas a regalar a tu hermana? What are you going to give to your sister? Like what are you going to gift her? And so the person that's going to receive the gift, that's the indirect object. The regalo, the actual present, if you talk about it, would be the direct object, because what are you giving? And then it's when you can say to whom or to or for whom. That's the indirect object. If they can answer the to, who are you doing it to, or for, who are you doing it for, that's going to be our indirect object pronoun. So in Spanish, it's when we say le. So if it's to whom or for whom, and we've been using that, right, at use gustar, because it's pleasing to me. A mí me gusta. A ella le gusta. So you've been using indirect object pronouns since beginning of Spanish 1. You just didn't know it. We didn't talk about it as indirect object pronoun. So what are they? So they're the same. Me, te, nosos. The only difference is instead of as a direct object pronoun, they use lo and la. In indirect, it's le and lace. It doesn't matter masculine or feminine or anything. It's just le. Le and lace. And it's the same as gustar. So we're not learning anything like blowing your mind new. It's just kind of a review, but knowing that you can use it with other verbs other than gustar, right? So, ¿me das un poco de sal, por favor? Can you give me, like give it to me, a little bit of salt, please? Le escribo un postal a mi abuela. Like I write a postcard a mi abuela. Le, to her. To her. Le presto una bicicleta a mis primos. I'm going to lend the bicycle. What are you going to lend? Or who you're going to lend it to? Les, a mis primos. To them. All right. Unlike in English, in Spanish, the indirect object pronoun comes before the conjugated verb. So again, just like the direct object pronouns, you've got to put them before the conjugated verb. Yo les enseño a cocinar y ellos me traen la compra. I teach them to cook and they bring me the groceries. So me comes before traer, and they don't match because they are bringing. Ellos traen. Who are they bringing it to? They're bringing it to me. Me traen la compra. They bring me the purchase or the groceries. Yo les enseño. I teach. Yo enseño. Who? To them. I teach them. Yo les enseño a cocinar. When infinitive follows the conjugated verb, the pronoun can go. So if you have two verbs rule, again, remember that two verbs rule, like yo puedo and then comprar. Comprar is an infinitive. You can put it again. Always you can put it before the conjugated verb. Yo le puedo comprar el pan al señor Antonio. But you can also put it at the end of and attached to the infinitive. Yo puedo comprarle el pan al señor Antonio. I can buy him the bread. Yo puedo comprarle el pan. When you use I que with infinitive, you have to put it you can't put it in front because I is a special verb. It's not like conjugated normally. It's only conjugated a certain way when you're going to talk about the existence of things. So you can't treat it like any other conjugated verb. It's special. And so if you have IK, you have to put the direct object pronoun and indirect object pronoun, you need to put it connected to the infinitive. Nothing can go before IK. And so, hay que comprarle el pan al señor Antonio. Like it has to get done. Like we need to, or somebody needs to buy the bread for him. Okay. Now, not in these notes, but just so you know, if you ever had to use an indirect object pronoun with a direct object pronoun, And since they both come before conjugated verbs, and we will learn this in a future unit, but always know people before things in Spanish. So the indirect object pronoun le would come before the lo or the la. So, or me comes before lo or la. So if you ever had to use them together, like I buy it for the him, then the person would come before. But that's not, you don't need to worry about that right now, but it does. If somebody brings that up or asks me the question, I'll say indirect before direct. People before things in Spanish. All right, so in your notes packet, there are some practica, the indirect object pronouns. So you need to do these. I'm going to give you the answers. But on your worksheet, there's not the full conversation, so it's not going to make sense. So we need to do them together so that you fully understand what's going on. Otherwise, you're going to get them wrong when you're doing your notes. So, oh, sorry, should say, ¿qué hace tu vecino? Bueno, ¿qué hace tu vecino con su perro mientras está de vacaciones? So, hacer, remember, is to do or to make. So, what is your neighbor, tu vecino, going to do with their dog? Mientras means while. Está de vacaciones, while he's on vacation. ¿Qué hace tu vecino con su perro? Oh, and then you're going to say, oh, well, I'm going to take care of him. Who are you going to take care of? The dog. Yo le voy a cuidar. Me gustan los perros. Y es muy cariñoso. Like, I can say his is. El suyo es muy cariñoso. All right. No tengo azúcar. I don't have any sugar. And the other person says, this is a conversation. So, no tengo azúcar. And the other person says, no hay problema. Yo puedo prestar un poco. I can loan you some, or I can lend you some. And here we have two verbs. The first one's conjugated, the second one's infinitive. Yo te puedo prestar un poco. I can lend it to you. ¿Tienes un almuerzo para hoy? Do you have lunch for today? Vamos a comer un picnic en el parque. We're going to have a picnic in the park. And they say, the response is, sí, claro. Yes. Mi mamá prepara el almuerzo todos los días. My mom prepares the lunch for me todos los días. So which is for me? Me. Prepara el almuerzo todos los días. Susana y Clara quieren ropa para la Navidad. Susana and Clara, they want clothes for Christmas. Oh, I'm going to buy them. Voy a regalar unos camisetas. I'm going to give them some t-shirts. Yo, and then Susana y Clara, they're two people, so it'd be les. Yo les voy a regalar unas camisetas. Los profesores dan tarea todos los días. The teachers give homework every day. Yeah, every day they give us homework, and we don't like it. No nos gusta nada. If you don't like something at all, you don't say no me gusta mucho. You say no me gusta nada. You're going to make it negative. No me gusta nada. No nos gusta nada. We really don't like it. So this is no. Sorry. Sí, todos los días nos dan mucha tarea. Yo tengo una pizza para ti. I have a pizza for you. I bought it at Papa John's. Yo te la compré. La is our direct object pronoun for pizza. Te la compré in Papa John's. I bought it in Papa John's. Now that's past tense, just so you know. You'll see it coming up. We're going to learn about past tense, but first we're doing this. So yo te la compré in Papa John's. Gracias por traer. Thank you for bringing me the pizza. Gracias por traerme la pizza. Check your answers and make sure they are correct. Okay, last thing in our notes for today is this cultural campaign that we learn about. We're going to learn about helping your neighbor in Spanish and things that you can do. And the vocabulary that we learn about is prestar, which is to lend or to lend. And then regalar is to gift or to give as a present. Traer is to bring. Dar is to give. And not in your vocabulary, but necessary in this thing is pedir prestado. It's like to ask if you can borrow. Because there's no verb for to borrow. To borrow is to request lendingness, right? Can you borrow me that? So in Spanish, you just say, can you ask that you lend it to me? Pedir prestado. Answering like, how can we help these different people? So this person is taking her groceries, you know, le trae la compra. They bring her the groceries. Le presta la bicicleta. She lends her the bike. Le regala comida, or les, if she's giving it to all of them. Les regala comida. And then él me presta huevos, or he can ask, maybe he's asking for eggs. Él me pide prestado de unos huevos, right? And yo se los doy, and I give them to him. So in a neighborhood, en las ciudades españolas, la mayoría de las personas viven en edificios con varios pisos. Edificio is a building, varios pisos. Remember, pisos are floors, so lots of floors. A lot of people live in apartments with lots of floors. Varios apartamentos en cada piso, pero es muy común no conocer los vecinos del mismo edificio. It's common not to know your neighbors. Y solamente saludarse en la escalera o en el ascensor. And just to like say hi in the escalera, remember is stairs, ascensor is elevator, that's our vocabulary. Por eso existen algunas iniciativas, como la escalera, que promueven las relaciones y la ayuda entre vecinos. And sometimes that's true even in our neighborhoods here. Even though it's not an apartment building, maybe you don't know all of your neighbors very well. If you live in a townhome, and there's like a lot of people that live close to each other, or apartments, but maybe you don't know them all. You might know them, recognize their faces, but you don't know their names. I know some of my neighbors, but I don't know all of them in my neighborhood, and I live in a neighborhood with houses, so that can happen anywhere. Este proyecto funciona con un cartel y unas pegatinas, unos stickers, que los vecinos ponen en sus buzones, on their neighbors, on their mailboxes. They put these stickers on their mailbox para decir que necesitan y que pueden compartir. They're going to say what they need and what they can share. So they're just putting little sticker on their mailbox that say, hey, I need something, or I have something I can share. So kind of trying to build some relationships and cross those barriers in neighborhoods. So let's look, just what do you think about that? If you had something like, kind of like we have the mini libraries, you know, people in a little library, but maybe you have something instead of library, you have like canned foods or different things like that. I've seen a couple of those where they put like canned foods out there. But instead of like just having it out for anybody to take, you could just have something on your mailbox that said, hey, I need a power drill or something. I need to borrow one because I'm working on a project and I don't have one. And then somebody says, sure, you can borrow mine. You know, something like that, you could get to know your neighbors pretty good. So let's look in here and just see what they're doing. So, el vecino del segundo A, on second floor, apartment A, no puede subir la compra. They can't take up their groceries. El gato del segundo B se queda solo una semana. The cat is going to be alone. And then las del bajo necesitan un taladro. The ones on the ground floor, they need a drill. So, lo resolvimos en unidad. So how they're just each saying what each person needs and how that you can solve that problem. Just a reflection on what do you think of a program like this in that box. Kind of a summary of what the program is like, and if you think that something like that would work in your neighborhood. And that's it for today. Hasta luego.